Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Come to order.
And let's see. First on the agenda is not announcements, it's the reorganization of the board. So first would be the officer positions. How about now? Now better? Yes. Okay. So first on the agenda is not the announcements, but it's the reorganization of the board. So there's position of president, vice president, CFO, and secretary. Does the board want to reorganize itself, or is...
I'd like to ask the board if there's anybody that's unhappy with their position as it is right now.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
And I'd like to make a motion that we keep the board positions as they were for the last year, to keep them more consistent for the next year at least.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to keep the positions as they were previously. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next would be committee assignments and for the different liaisons. So we've got Architectural Committee, the Communications Board, CPT, EPC, Facilities, Finance, Landscape, Rules and Regs, Safety, Social, and the Tech Ops Board.
Can I start?
Sure.
I'm currently assigned to the Safety Committee and the Communications Board, and I'd like to keep those if possible.
I'm currently on the Tech Ops Board and the Social Committee. I'd like to keep those two.
I'm currently on 3, Finance, Landscape, and Rules and Regs, and I'm delighted to share the work.
So I'm currently on finance and facilities, so I think that one of Ed's, and are you interested in what, facilities?
Facility seems most logical.
So I suggest we pass facilities to Joe, and you give me one of yours.
May I request the board speak into the microphone if you're not here?
We will try harder. So which one of your 3, Ed, are you willing to part with?
You may take your pick.
I will take rules and regs.
Okay.
And so we still have the architectural. And Joe, you said you'd take that one?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I currently have CP&T and EPP, and I'd like to keep those committees.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, to keep, so ARC would be Joe, Communications Board would be Jerry, CPT and EPC would be Lynn, Facilities would be Joe, Finance would be Jolene, and Ed, okay.
I also have architectural, right?
Yes,
Architectural and facilities.
yes.
Okay.
Let's see, Rules and Regs would be Jolene, Landscape would be Ed. Safety is Jerry, Social is John, and Tech Ops is John. So a motion to accept that.
I'll make a motion to accept all those assignments.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the nominations for committee liaisons as stated. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Can you make sure I look? Now it's announcements. So first is the roof issues that we've been having. Facilities looked at this last year and had determined not to go forward with a full roof replacement here at the Lodge Complex because that was $300,000. They were looking at bids yesterday, and we'll have it on the agenda for today, to do some full patching and repairs over the bistro kitchen so that the bistro doesn't keep having to shut down whenever we have rain. And that is on the agenda for today. Nextdoor. So I know a lot of people here use Nextdoor, and that's perfectly fine. I don't want to say not to use Nextdoor, but it's not an official communication tool of the board or the management company. So when you put something on Nextdoor, we don't see that. I get calls, hey, did you see that on Nextdoor? I did not, because we don't monitor Nextdoor. If you want to have something, an action item taken, please bring it to a committee, to the board, to management. That's how we will respond to things. And on that note, we're going to set up an email that will be live tomorrow. I believe it's going to be issues@fourseasonsbeaumont.org. And that way, if you're on the trails and you see a broken sprinkler or you're having an issue, you send it to the issues email. And we'll have that in the daily report. We'll publish that in the Breeze. It'll be on the website. It'll be one email. Because this morning, I got an email from somebody that sent it to Hugo, who hasn't been here for 2 or 3 months. So that way it's just one email address. No matter what the issue is, you can send it to that email address and it will be taken care of. Next on announcements is the water aerobics. Had a couple of requests to have it moved back up to the summit because it's cold down here, which is weird. Now it's in May. So we are going to move water aerobics back up to the summit until mid-June. That way it's nice and warm inside the summit and people aren't they're not cold. KHOV has slurry work and crack fill that they're going to be doing later in May in phases D and E. We'll publish that on the website and the data report with maps and dates. They will also, through their subcontractor, be putting flyers on people's doors so people know when they can't park in front of their house. And then speaking of streets, my monthly reminder to please slow down. Next up is homeowner input. As a reminder, homeowner input is limited to 3 minutes per homeowner. Only one request to speak form may be submitted per homeowner. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. Homeowner input may be held for a maximum period of 30 minutes before the board meeting begins to allow the board to proceed with the business portion of the meeting. This portion of the meeting is limited to board participation only. Residents are welcome and encouraged to stay for the full meeting to witness the business of the corporation taking place by your governing agents. And the first speaker slip is Barbara Mull.
And I'm talking about the pool monitor.
Let's see if you're on. Are you on?
Oh,
Here, let's turn it on. There you go. Right.
all right, hello.
No, yeah, there we go. 462 Diamond Peak. I'm talking about 2 issues, and one of the issues is the pool monitors. And I know that that is in the contract to have a pool monitor for $10,000, and it seems like a lot of money. But more than that, I think as grandparents and adults, we should be the one that are monitoring our own grandchildren. And I believe that if all of us monitor their grandchildren, then we shouldn't have the issues. And there shouldn't be grandparent to grandparent issues that I've heard about. So that was my thing, and it's on Nextdoor, and I think that if we give our grandchildren the love and attention they deserve and teach them the rules, then hopefully they'll all be okay, and we won't need the rules, or the pool monitor. We always need our rules, but the pool monitor would be a necessity if we as grandparents would teach our grandchildren the rules and we ourselves follow those rules. My next thing is on the visiting policy. Right now, there is a policy that states that, well, it's in progress, that there would be 1 visitor per household for club activities. And I believe, in my opinion, that there should be two visitors per household, because most of the time we travel in couples or pairs or whatever. And I think that if there is a group activity, that they should be allowed to be signed in by 1 person for 2 people. And I think that if everybody, again, follows the rules, we wouldn't have an overflow. If there are more resident members that want to attend that activity, then the guests should not be allowed to attend if they're non-resident guests. But like in Wine Club, I'm Vice President of Wine Club, and we make sure that we have enough room for everybody, but if it ever got to that point, and some of our activities do get to that point where we cannot have both residents and guests, so we sell out to residents only for our holiday party, our bus trip to Temecula, and then if there's room left over, we open it to guests, and then if there's room left over, non-resident guests. So I think that residents have to come first, but I really hope that that rule will be changed to two people per household guests if there's room. And the other thing, they should not have to be overnight guests. They should just be guests coming in to do something with the club. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Question. As far as these issues that have been brought up, these have been, from what I understand, very contentious issues. Could I recommend that we have perhaps a town hall meeting to discuss all this, get all the different points of view without any time limits, and maybe come to a consensus that would be most pleasing? Obviously, we're not going to please everyone, and hopefully we can come to a middle ground that everyone will not be thrilled necessarily with, but something that will at least be satisfied with. Is this something, Len, that we might be able to put together?
I think we should discuss that after the homeowner input half hour.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Next is Jamie Brower.
Good afternoon. I'm here today to speak on 3 topics. Number 1 is the neighbor below me. Her sprinkler, she's lived there for approximately 9 years. It took her over 3 years to complete her backyard. She's planted 14 plus trees on her engineered slope without approval. This has been verified by Eric. Her sprinklers have damaged my wrought iron fence because her bushes are on the top of the slope are planted right next to my wrought iron fence. Her sprinklers are not able to water her slope because her bushes block the water, and it all comes back into my yard and has turned my black wrought iron fence almost white. We just painted a year ago. I have 3 neighbors in my backyard, and the other 2 neighbors, the fence is still black. I have approximately 100 emails to Jerry Rupo when she was here, and Eric Zard regarding these bushes growing through my fence and the illegal trees planted on her slope. One's a cottonwood tree. They'll go a mile to find water. I have a pool and spa in my backyard, and if her trees do damage to my pool or my backyard in any way, I will hold the HOA, the management company, and the board responsible, and you're put on notice. Because they've been aware of it, and they have done nothing. And it applies to both Exhibit Fs, the first one and the second one. Number 2, same neighbor has a son who until May 1st was living with her. She supposedly is caregiver under ADA. He's harassed and viciously approached many of our neighbors over the years. He has a felony conviction for one of the incidents in 4 Seasons, and that was about a year ago. He's threatened to shoot my husband. There is now a restraining order against him, but I don't think that'll help. He'll be back. My question is, how can she be his caregiver when she works 12-hour night shifts as a nurse? And now that she has filed a restraining order against him, is her caregiver status null and void? Number 3, Cindy Graves. When Cindy started her job at 4 Seasons, she was assistant activities director and later promoted to activities director. Cindy is the best thing that ever happened to 4 Seasons. Yay. She runs circles around everybody else here. In fact, she's the face of 4 Seasons. She's the first person everybody sees here. A few nasty people want her fired because they think she has something to do with this limited number of visitors. She has nothing to do with that. We love Cindy Graves. Thank you.
Next is Phil Westbrook.
I'm Phil Westbrook, and I'd like to take this opportunity to commend 4 Seasons residents for an exceptional turnout at the recent election. I'd also like to thank those that supported me.
I'd also like to thank the board and First Service for the quick action regarding a threat that I received from an unruly non-resident here at the lodge. On that note, I'd like to address the access to our facilities. Recently, I was attending an event at the lodge, and I was about to leave when an unattended younger guest, with their feet propped up on our furniture, said, "Thanks for coming. We'll see you again real soon." I thought this was kind of odd, the sense of entitlement given and a sense of ownership of our facilities, so I went to the front desk only to find there was no one signed in for the event. A few days later, my wife and I were having a meal at the lodge. The lady sat down with us and the conversation moved along with the usual questions of, how long you been here, what kind of home you have, and the response was, "Oh, I don't live here. I like coming down here, I live in Solera." Again, I went to the lobby to sign in sheet, no one there. Please note that these are people that I have seen here on a regular basis. According to the community guidelines, all guests must register when first entering our facility and must be accompanied by a resident at all times. Just this week, I was fobbing into the lodge. Another resident passed me by and asked, "Hey, are you going to fob in?" The reply was, "There's nobody here. This place is open to the public." While it does seem in the last week or two there's been a concerted effort to enforce compliance regarding guest registration, it's been my observation that during this time, I see the guests come in by themselves, sign in, and go somewhere by themselves. This is not the spirit of our guidelines. In a sense, anyone can come here, write their name down in the book, and do whatever they want. It seems to me that our guest policy has been exploited by those who wish. Therefore, our dues-paying members are subsidizing these guests. According to the first sentence in our CC&R, the promise of KHOB of having home ownership in this community are the benefits that are protected and preserved through the limitations and restrictions by the members of the association. I believe that a guest is someone who infrequently visits, gets together with family to enjoy our facility. So when some guests are frequently using our facilities on a weekly basis, to what point are these guests, in a sense, non-dues paying members? Keep in mind that we are looking to expand our facilities to accommodate more people and recently bought more tables and chairs to accommodate attendees. We refurbished the pool tables in the pool room. So I ask you, when is a guest no longer a guest in your home when your guest has been coming for 52 days plus a year? While in recent weeks there has been a more attentive effort to register guests, but without the front desk being continually manned, this goal will never be met. And I understand that this is a methods and means condition on the management team, but I also think that the board needs to issue a directive to make sure that our facilities are secure in this regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Next is Gail Lindbergh.
Just in case you missed a word.
Can everybody hear me? Perfect. Hi, my name is Gail. I'm here today because I heard from friends of mine who know the people involved that are trying to get Cindy Graves fired, believing that she has an agenda with regards to guests coming on our property to attend events, clubs, classes, and groups. These people even went as far as calling the First Service corporate headquarters in an attempt to get her fired, which is completely inappropriate for any homeowner to do. When I went to ask Cindy about it, she wouldn't respond because she is a consummate professional. I'd like to talk a little bit about my experiences with Cindy Graves. I have lived here for 7 years, and many of you know me as the MC of Gail's Games. I have worked with Cindy on numerous events. She has no agenda other than to make sure these events are a big success. I have personally witnessed homeowners yelling at Cindy, and she just keeps smiling in the face of hostility that most of us would not tolerate. I want to remind the board and First Service that Cindy is the face of your franchise. She is the best thing that ever happened to the Four Seasons, and she is the main reason this is such a great place to live.
To suggest that Cindy has an agenda of any kind other than to make the residents here happy is patently absurd. In the 7 years I have lived here, I have been to many clubs, events, groups, and classes, and have never experienced a circumstance where homeowners were turned away because guests were allowed. The two most popular events here at the Four Seasons are the fashion show and the New Year's Eve party. And I'm sure the chairman of the social committee, Pam Morales, can address how many guests were in attendance. If the tickets go on sale for an event at 7 a.m., I don't think it's reasonable to think you can show up at 2 and expect to get a good table or the event might be sold out. I personally worked with Pam last year on the ticket sales for New Year's Eve, and I know from my experience that by 10 a.m. there were no longer homeowners showing up to buy tickets. I still believe there was possibly 1 or 1.5 tables left. Let me remind the board of what happened when a very small handful of people tried to impose their will on the majority. You bowed to their pressure and implemented term limits for the committees. And now those committees are struggling at times to find adequate number of residents who are willing to make the commitment to volunteer their time. Let me also remind you of what happened when one homeowner decided they should be able to allow their trees and bushes on their hillside to grow tall enough to impede their neighbors' views. Thank goodness Exhibit F was subject to a resident vote and was upheld. If the Board of Supervisors, if this board or First Service decides to make a gigantic mistake by terminating Cindy's employment as activities directors here, you will have a resident uprising on your hands that will make the storming of the Bastille look like a garden party. Cindy is beloved in our community, and I know I speak for the vast majority of homeowners when I say I hope she continues her work here until she's ready to retire. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Next is Richard Stolitz.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Stolars. I live at 1590 Quiet Creek, Beaumont, California, Four Seasons. We are in the Monarch housing area. That's north of Four Seasons Circle. We're the second children of the rest of the community, so to speak. Our landscaping is much different than everybody else's. We don't have the great flowers that a lot of the other communities have. And there's not much that anybody can do about that, except maybe get another landscaping company. We've had O'Connell for almost 10 years now, and they're getting worse instead of better. When I moved into this community 13 years ago, we had a landscape company, I can't remember the name of them now, but they were terrible. So then we got O'Connell. O'Connell for about 1.5 years did great work, then all of a sudden they started going downhill. And they went downhill for about 2 or 3 years, and then they got back up again when we had Guillermo was their supervisor. Now they've taken Guillermo away and they put somebody else there, and believe me, it's unreal. Eric, I sent you a message via one of your employees the other day about O'Connell going over 2 weeks before they mowed the yards in the Monarch area. Okay, they finally came around 2 days after that and mowed. Believe me, this has actually happened. They took one side of the street and they mowed right by the curb, one pass, and then they were done for the day, leaving the rest of the yard unfinished. I don't know about you, but I like to have a nice looking yard. Okay, I work hard at it, and I like to keep it that way. I pay my dues. I expect to have my yard mowed and kept up to date. Okay, I do the rest of it myself because I couldn't trust the landscapers. And I don't know about any of you up on the south side of Four Seasons, how they do there, but I know in the Monarch areas, they just really don't care. I don't know whether they need more personnel whether they need to raise the salary. I heard a couple of years ago that they weren't paying their guys too much, and they really didn't want to work that hard, that they can go to other landscape companies and make a lot more money. I don't know. It seems like they have three to four landscapers to do the entire Monarch area, which, by the way, I think we have 210 houses in the Monarch. I think it's 210, something like that. I know it's over 200. It's a lot of work for 2 or 3 or 4 guys. And in closing, I would like to say, I pity the poor fool that says anything to me, to my face, about wanting to fire Cindy Graves.
Thank you, sir. And the last speaker slip that I have is Barbara Morrison.
Barbara Morton, 276 Box Springs Trail. I have been hearing of a rumor about a very small group of people who are wanting Cindy Graves fired because she is allowing guests to come into Four Seasons for various events and/or activities. Since when are we trying to limit guests? Or if this group has their way, no guests for each household. How can they even suggest such a thing without it going out to all the residents of the community? If this rumor is true, it would mean that I would not be able to have my daughter and my 2 grandsons attend karaoke, the holiday program, the fashion show, or other events put on the various groups, clubs, or organizations when all residents have been accommodated and still have available seats. They still wouldn't be able to attend. This is ridiculous. The events I have attended have not been impacted, and allowing guests to attend should have been no problem. In fact, there's been plenty of room for them to enjoy our dances, programs, clubs, etc. And those events where there is limited numbers who can attend, Four Seasons residents are always given first priority before guests are allowed. Cindy is the best thing to happen at Four Seasons, and all of the various activities is one of the reasons I bought a home here. The many activities she helps to become a reality and successful, no, I did not say that she is in charge of, has made this community what it is today. How can a small group dictate to all the homeowners how many guests they may have? How can a small group of disgruntled people not follow the chain of command and instead go directly to First Service Residential to complain about Cindy and try to get her fired? She is paid by the homeowners, and each and every homeowner that I have talked to can give nothing but high praise. As a homeowner, I fully support Cindy and her commendable work she has done over the years as I have been a resident. My other one, it seems like I come here every month and report speeding. It is ridiculous. I'm watching people go up my street or down to Four Seasons Circle, and they're going 35, 40. I've even seen it where it's probably 45 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. Is it going to take somebody to get killed for something to happen around here? This has been over 6 years that this has been happening. I've complained from day one because it's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to make a single motion to approve all included items. If for a particular reason an item needs to be discussed or pulled from the consent calendar, then a call to remove that should be made by a board member. First on the consent calendar, the reports from April 11th and April 15th of this year. Financial implementation of the city and investment plan from the Finance Committee. 2 lien approvals on account BE-6310-1272-01 in the amount of $1,361.90. And a lien on account BE-6310-0718-01 in the amount of $1,519.95. 2 bond releases in phases 178 and 177, and then several different activities, use requests. There was one extra request for a neighborhood watch walk party at the end of Mont Bluff on June 8th, which will be before the next board meeting. And that is the consent calendar.
Make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent calendar. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, there was an executive session meeting held this morning at 9 a.m. The board reviewed delinquencies. We had 4 called to hearing, 1 paid in full, and we're communicating with the other 3. There were no foreclosure actions or hearings. The board reviewed contracts, legal issues, and personnel. So I'll move into the committee reports. First committee is the architectural committee. Steve.
As always, our statistics or a recap of what we've done is on the top here. We're getting more guests through. We're encouraging those guests that have, or those homeowners that have projects that are up for review to attend our meeting or to give us a phone number where we can reach them. We find that it's been very, very helpful to be able to have a two-way conversation. We've been able to resolve a lot of potential issues because we could ask questions and communicate 2 ways. We're approving as we go. The same thing is occurring on our addendums. Schedule or the Exhibit A's are slowing down. I'm not sure why. They're basically just the TV antennas. And our Exhibit C's, we're at a little bit of difficulty getting those taken care of. And as you may remember, a Schedule C is the report that the homeowner gives us when they're finished, and we go back to just confirm that the work is done. I suspect the biggest issue is that people are vacationing, they're tired of the rain, snow, whatever, and we're just not able to find them. As was earlier discussed, we are having some issues with people, homeowners relying on neighbor next door to get their information or to find out what's going on. We've had a lot of questions that get asked at various places that is clearly contained within our guidelines, and as we're doing our reports or our articles for the Breeze, we're addressing those. Unfortunately, that tends to be 6 weeks behind, but again, we're encouraging any homeowner has a question, come to our committee meeting, give me an email or a phone call or any of our committee members, and we'll get a definitive answer back for you. We've been dealing with issues that have to do with any number of things, and interestingly, the ones that have popped up most recently are hanging stuff on their gates. And again, our guidelines, or not their gates, but the fences, the guidelines clearly say no. And yet, for whatever reason, we have people that are attaching all kinds of stuff to the fences. We've got questions about how many trees they have to have in the front yard. Again, city code's there, it's in there, and we're encouraging, we'll do it through the Breeze articles, through this meeting, to come to our committee, and of course for all committees when they have answers, instead of relying on whatever, be it neighbor next door, just talking to some random neighbor, talking to a real estate agent. We're trying to encourage that we have a process, that we have very good communications, and we're glad to answer questions that way. I encourage everybody to show up to our meetings and see what goes on and ask your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next is the communications board.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so Lori's at a doctor's appointment or something. And they have 12, I'll read it with you, how about that? 12 members with 2 applicants ready for board approval. They are accepting pictures of your beautiful flowers and yards, so send some of those in. We've had some good ones. All right, the treasure hunt on the website. Go on there go on the website. It's to drive traffic, right? Go on, encourage your neighbors, and see if you can find a little treasure chest on the website. And click on it, and you'll have a pop-up, which is going to be Justin's email, and let him know, I found the treasure chest. And each week, they will be pulling an email winner for $1 amount, right? Worth of gift certificate. So check that out. You'll definitely want to be on the website for that. And here's really cool. We have the most wonderful, creative, lively bunch of you guys and older folks that are 80 and above. We've got dancers in line dancing. We've got folks hiking. We've got so many neat, truly active adults in this community that are 80 plus. We are looking to do a featured spotlight on the secrets for an active life over 80. So if you happen to know anyone that fits that category, or if you yourself are super active and would love to share a few tips for some of the 55ers and those in between, we want to showcase you guys. So please sign up in the lobby. Take a little sheet of paper, fill it out that's on there, and put it in the box, or call Lori Larson, because we want to do a really cool article about our wonderful 80-year-olds and above. Okay, and is that it? Lori wants to get approval for Henry and Jan. There you go. And they meet, the next proofing meeting is May 15th at 10 a.m. in the RCN.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Henry Szylski and Jan White as members of the Communications Board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Henry and Jan as members of the Communications Board. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is Community Planning and Transition. Colin.
Good afternoon, Colin Taylor. We're still awaiting approval from the gas company on the off-leash dog area. We're working on the annual and master plans and working on the transition study, and transition is still scheduled for the end of this year. We're developing a list of underutilized areas and the restrictions and limitations that apply to each one of those. Then we'll be able to decide what we might be able to do with those areas later on. We're meeting with the solar electric and solar thermal companies to investigate potential economic benefits, and we're continuing to develop a plan for digitization of all the construction drawings. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 23rd at 9 a.m. in the Rec Center conference room, and as always, visitors are always welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Next is the emergency preparedness. Mike.
Mike Mendoza of EPP. Number 5 up there could be scratched because you can't be applied to 2 board committees. So I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and find someone else, because Henry had been to a couple of our meetings and he had expressed an interest. But like I said, anybody willing to get out there and come see us the third Tuesday of the month. Anyway, Len had asked me a question. He was concerned about Stop the Bleed kids, and I told him the one possible limitation on Stop the Bleed kids was the fact that you have gauze, you have applied direct pressure, you have specialized gauze that's treated, and you have tourniquets. Well, the specialized gauze had a limitation of every 6 months you'd have to replace them. Well, he asked me to look, the very first hit, boom, Israeli Army approved gauze, good for 5 years. And that's a lot better than having to worry about it every 6 months. So if we were to get the kits and put them in, we'd only have to worry about them every 5 years instead of having to worry about them every 6 months. I'm in the process of getting together with EMP, and we're going to get utilize one of Neighborhood Watch's meetings in the early fall, because they have a lot more members, and try to get them up to speed on what to do in an emergency or disaster in the community. EMD's the county's liaison for emergencies. They were part of the fire department, but they're now their own entity. I'm in the process of being vetted with the city of Beaumont for becoming a trainer for CERT. And then one of our members, we realized that as emergency preparedness, a lot of what we had came out of the CERT program. And she's saying, well, a lot of what we do now, we have to sit down with our CERT manuals and the residents' emergency handbook and make sure that things are in line with one another. Because I think some of the stuff that's promised in CERT has nothing to do with what the emergency preparedness is either prepared or able to do. Lastly, I've been asked by Len, I guess my next project is going to be looking into safety cones, because I guess we had an incident where a lady got in an accident and people were running around looking for something and they didn't have cones. I guess my only concern was I got no problem researching them or obtaining them, but my problem would be putting them in a safe place, or maybe Cindy, with her blessing, has a place behind the concierge. We could have some cones and we could be able to put them out there if we needed them. Anyway, as usual, we're looking for more members, so the next meeting is the 21st. Thank you.
Oh, and
Mike, I wouldn't scratch Henry off of your EPP. Yours is a committee. The communication board, they can be on a committee and be part of that board.
I was confused because I thought when they merged both of the things together that it became a committee.
No, it's a communication board. They put them together for that reason.
Okay, that's great. If he shows up, then we'll
He's a
nab
good
him.
guy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next is facilities.
Bruce is out, so I'll be sitting in for him. We're replastering the Summit Pool and replacing the coping, and that's ready to go. We're gathering bids for the aerobics room flooring after receiving survey responses. We'll be discussing large roof repairs for the flat roofs today, so that'll be coming up a little bit later. And roofing repair consultant, we have selected one, and he's going to hopefully check out our roofs and make sure that Hovnanian has done everything according to Hoyle. We've also approved the new ad and the back machine for the courts, so that's ready to go here today. And in addition to that is the water heater replacement. That's been done. We don't need that. The one that we have is in pretty bad shape. And the other thing we'll be talking about today is the paver resetting for the Potrero entry. And not only for the entry, but for the Four Seasons Roundabout and Lodge Roundabout. So we'll be discussing those today and voting on that.
Thank you, Joe. So next would be finance, the Barry.
Good afternoon. Number one, we always like to look at the numbers. The numbers look good. Keep in mind, this is the end of March, our first quarter, and revenues are on target, actually slightly ahead, and one of the contributing factors to that are our investments are yielding us a little more money than they were a few years ago. We're now getting about 2.3, 2.4% on CDs when we were under 1% 2 years ago. Expenses are under budget right now, which is a great sign. You might say, well, geez, we're running so well under budget. Why didn't we have an HOA fee increase? Well, there's a reason why. During the first quarter, we used a lot less water for our landscaping. It's usually a low time anyway on landscaping using water, but with the additional rain, it used virtually none. But you know we will be using that water come July, August, September. Also, other landscaping projects in the first quarter didn't really get initiated as much because of the weather. And there's another budget item in there that's in that first quarter and throughout the year, because we evenly divide it out as tree trimming. Well, we don't do tree trimming in the spring. So budget looks good, it's on target. Looks like we're in a very favorable position, but it should equalize out as we proceed over the next 3 quarters. Our HOA default rate is at 0.44%. Fantastic, I tell you that every month. Can't be more pleased as a homeowner or somebody who's looking at what we pay here and making sure everybody is contributing for this. And it's a great job for the management company and staying on top of these. When you look at, we only have under 9 homes that have a greater than $1,000 owed to the association at this time. It's really good. And we look at the national average, or we look at the average in California, much higher. They have a 40 to 50% rate. They have people just not paying. Okay. I'd like to share, I shared the last time, some of the proactive work that goes on with the committees, with the board, in doing things that save us money. There's always a question about, are we just spending money, or are we looking at opportunities to save, are we doing the best contracting? I mentioned air conditioning units the last time, that we took out a bid and we come up with a lower bidder than one of our normal suppliers. So it saved us $1,000. I'd like to just mention, because it may have gone overlooked, we converted to LED lighting in the lodge buildings and such. All the bulbs were replaced. It was about a $70,000 project that we had to put up front, but in less than a year we got our payback. Less than a year we got our payback for that investment. And we're going to have that every ongoing year in our electricity. So that's just some of the things that are going on. And Colin mentioned they're looking at other economic savings ventures that we may be able to have here. So the committees are doing their job, and the board is too, on being very proactive at looking at cost-saving measures that don't take away from the living style that we have here. Finance Committee has one opening. I ask you, as always, please come. We have great discussions. Have questions answered if you'd like. If I don't have time here to always address them. Our next meeting is May 28th. It might be wrong because I looked at my notes and I had a June number, but it is May 28th at 1 o'clock in the RCN. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next is landscape. Lynette.
Good afternoon, Lynette Simonson, Landscape Committee Chair. It's not on the screen, but I would like to repeat our mission statement. The landscape is to maintain healthy landscaping that maintains the attractiveness of the HOA and makes it a desirable place to live and buy a home. And that is always our goal as a landscape committee on our every Friday walks. And we, in our walks, are noticing that there's an overgrowth, in our view, of some of the trees that were planted really close together to be attractive when there wasn't much around here to entice people buying homes here. So we put forth a fact and an action and a goal as displayed up here of how we will proceed with thinning TH to avoid TR, trimming costs ongoing with trees that can be reduced to maintain the health of the remaining trees and help to keep our landscape costs as close as we can without overgoing our budget. That's my statement for today.
Thanks, Lynette. Next is rules and regulations. Barbara.
Community guidelines with Cindy. We had about 25 residents attend our April meeting, and they were very passionate about whether they wanted guests to attend. Some were confusing the existing guidelines we have with one resident per household for a group activity. Others were confusing an event versus a club, group, or class activity. The fall and spring boutique guidelines have been written, the proposal was given, and hopefully we'll have that proposal initiated before our vendor meeting in June. We're also reviewing the guidelines for caregivers, and again, we're still dealing with the issue of the CCNR ballots. We need more votes, and hopefully the delegates will rise to the occasion, and if they need to, go door to door, trying to get people to comply with voting so we get approximately 800 ballots in before we open ballots. We do need committee members. My term is up, Margie's term is up. There's just 3 of us on the committee, and we are looking for residents to come out and serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next is the Safety Committee. Anita.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, we basically always talk about traffic and speeding. So this particular time, I asked Eric, and thank you, and Nellie, to just put on some slides so that you can visually see why we have so much speeding going here and to be aware of it. Of course, a lot of you know about the accident that happened, and of course the person was going downhill. However, we're always going downhill or uphill. And so be aware of those people who are in such a hurry, they decide that they want to pass you. So, and that is happening. Be aware of people that are in golf carts. Be aware of safety. So visually, you can see that, as well as we have distracted drivers. So if you look at some of the pictures here that we are showing, we're just saying, please keep this community safe. It's always coming up, and some people are saying, oh, we're tired of hearing about speeding. Well, if you're tired of hearing about it, tell your friends and the people that's coming to visit and all those people that are delivering packages, and we know they're on a time schedule. Slow down. All right. So, enough about that. In the safety committee, we also talked about some of the problems that we have concerning areas that do not have visual stop signs, visual areas where there's a stop. And there is, on Elisa Flowers and Mont Bluff, there's an area, it looks like when you're going down the street, it just looks like you can keep going on. But really, it's a drop-off. So the safety committee has decided to work with the landscape, as well as we're getting some vinyl fencing there. So that was approved for us. We also are putting in different stop signs. We have a lot of people who are walkers, which is great because we have a trail as part of this community, and attractiveness of this community is because we have trails, we have a lot of walking areas. So therefore, we're putting in some stop signs where people may not understand that this is a crosswalk for people to go and cross the street, and a lot of them have dogs or whoever. So we're putting in some more stop signs. The last thing is on our safety committee, we are working with Neighborhood Watch, and on next June the 12th, which is the normal Neighborhood Watch meeting, we will be having AED and CPR training. I know a lot of you have already had the training, but refresher courses are always very valuable. So at our Neighborhood Watch meeting yesterday, we did remind people to be aware of all of the AEDs that's around in all the buildings, as well as out on the courts. The CPR training is very, very important. Even though you've taken it, please come and get a refresher. Kim Nelson from Sanji Hospital is the one that will be giving the training, which she usually does. We have a sign-up sheet. Thank you, Cindy, for allowing us to put the sign-up sheet back there on the table. So if anybody wants to sign up, and we have the flyers out there, you'll see them, it's in blue, AED and CPR training in the lodge ballroom that'll be here. So just come on out. Our next meeting is the first Tuesday, always of each month, 10 o'clock in the morning in the RCN building. And that's Tuesday, June the 4th. The AED training will be Wednesday, June the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Next to the social committee. And then back to community ambassador. You get to stay there.
We're in social. Second?
Cindy does social.
Yeah, I'll add it to my report.
Okay, all right. For community ambassador, we had the first inaugural coffee with. So we had the coffee with the Beaumont city manager, and you will see that in the briefs. He was very, very helpful and told us a lot about what is coming, why. We talked about traffic that we have on Highland Springs, and the mayor will be coming to talk with us without coffee, and that will be sometime in late June or early July. That was great. And the very next week, we had the city manager here because we had the Melrose talk. And thank you, Eric, for putting it up on the web. So anybody that missed that, it's there on the website. Thank you for that. You are also, all of you are invited to our National Night Out. We have that in July. I know it's early, but you know, we're already in the second week of May, so June or July will be here in a minute. So mark your calendars for Thursday, July the 25th. It will be our National Night Out where we show appreciation for all of those that are in law enforcement, all of those that are in service to us. We also have the campfire coming. We will have a lot of people here that are community services people. And we have a lot of people in here also who are former employees of law enforcement. So come out and show your appreciation. We do that. We don't do it on the regular National Night Out because the police and sheriff and everybody there are out doing that. So we want to have them to ourselves. And speaking, looking at Mike here, yes, we will be working with Neighborhood Watch on emergency preparedness. We have that scheduled in probably August, so it'll be great. Thank you all. Be sure and come out. Be sure and sign up for AED training.
Thank you, Anita. Next is the activities director report. Cindy.
Yay, Cindy!
I'm just gonna sit here. I just want to tell you guys how important you are to me, how much you guys have really meant to me over the last going on 13 years, 12 years. I have totally invested my heart and soul with you guys, and I've developed such incredible, wonderful relationships with you. You guys have been my life, and I'm not taking it super seriously over the little group of folks that are doing their deal, but I'm really, really humbled at your vocal support of your love and just concern and sweetness. I love you guys so much, and I want to give you all a giant group hug. You guys are really too much, and I just love you to death. You know, it's one thing, as you know, it's one thing to have opposite opinions or differing opinions with people, and that just happens when you're doing business, right? But I still love folks that don't have the same opinion as I do, you know, we could still come in a different way. But you guys have really blown my mind today, and I just have to tell you how really special and important you are, and wonderful. Thank you for giving me the privilege to be with you and to serve you, and I do hope for more. So thank you, I love you, and now you'll have a real announcement. And the real announcement is that the Performing Arts Club presents their PG-55 show called The Night They Raided Sminsky's. And it's both on Friday and Saturday, May 10th and 11th. And the doors open at 6 p.m. and the show starts at 6:30. And I just want to say I'm super grateful for Sandra Butler. Where is Sandra? Is she still here? Little Sandra. Okay, so John Horning, this is behind the scenes, right? John Horning came into my office last week, completely flipping out. He's the producer, telling me that one of the main characters was hospitalized and having issues. So for all these people that have spent months doing their acts and so forth in there, we're going to have me make the show go on by standing in. And as you know, this is a burlesque show. Okay? This is going to be something where you would see more of me than you would normally want to. Okay? So after great preponderance over it, freaking out, knowing Eric would have a brick about this big, you know, at the end of me pulling things through things, I had wonderful Sandra say that she would be the main character and the understudy for a whole week. Actually, it was like 3 days, right? 3 days for this. So I am more relieved than you can ever know about this show. Sandra is a huge heroine with this. And I'm sure she wishes she was taking heroin. But the good news is that Paula Drake actually rose from the dead, got from the hospital out, and is going to go ahead, you know, Lord willing, cross your fingers, is going to go ahead and do the job. Sandra will remain the understudy until the last second, because that's how tenuous it is, if you can believe that. So, pretty amazing. You guys, now that you have the backstory, you have to come just because the suspense is killing you over how this show is going to go. So anyway, big hand for Sandra. Thank God. Okay, and then next, the amphitheater concert is on its way. We can't wait. Beach Street Go-Go is going to be our first band. They are absolutely wonderful, great performers, and interactive with the audience and all of that. So if they're as great as the last show that we saw them, they're absolutely beautiful. You'll love them. And the first show is May 19th at 7 p.m. Don't forget, you may put your chairs down at the amphitheater after 10 o'clock. And it's still, with this weather, going to be chilly, so bring your favorite blankie and a hot toddy or whatever else you need to be there. But I'll look forward to seeing you there, and we're off to the spring and summer. And again, giant group hug. I really love you guys, and thank you so much.
Next up is the management report, starting on pages 66 through 86 are the management updates and activity logs. I did want to point out two numbers. On page 71 is the usage report from the summit from March 2018 to March 2019. We had 26,000 people use the summit in that year time span. And then from the same time span of March through March, the courts had 30,000 people use use the courts. And that's from the fitness center to the tennis courts to the pool. So just fantastically used amenities there. Next, on pages 87 through 101 are the communications that we have received. That's for information purposes. There's no action at this time. So next is new business. First on new business is guest policy. As we heard from homeowner input, guest policy is definitely a very passionate subject here. Other people on also.
Joe earlier brought up the thought of having a town hall on this subject.
Yes, I don't think it would be sufficient for us to go out with a survey. I think the folks need to come and maybe sit at a round table, sit in a room, and just have a discussion with the pros and cons, and try to come up with an approach that pleases, again, not everyone, but pleases the most. I would expect that we, the board, would get involved, because we would probably, at the end of that, want to be setting some kinds of guidelines along with rules and regs, so that we're all in somewhat of an agreement with where we go next. But I think this has to happen fairly fast based on everything that I'm seeing. So I guess I would suggest now setting a time for a town hall meeting to get it all together, and everyone that has an interest should come. And I would hope that would be a pretty sizable group.
I would think that if we have a town hall would be great, but I also think that we probably should put out a survey maybe too, that we get both people that would attend the town hall meeting and those people that maybe wouldn't. The more people we have input from, the more people that we get a feeling of what they're thinking about it, the more able we are to look at across the board at those things and see about putting together a policy that fits the most people and makes the most residents happy.
Well, if the board is in agreement with that, then I would recommend... If the board is in agreement with that, then I would recommend we go ahead and accept your recommendation for a town hall and defer further discussion today until we have received the information from the town hall. So let me ask for a vote from the board on that. All those in favor?
Well,
We need a motion?
We need a motion, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we have a town hall, and as far as the date is concerned, we don't have a date right now, but I would think we would want one ASAP within the next...
Well, we have to go through the process of announcement and everything. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we have a town hall to discuss the guest policy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Glenn, I'd like to address the survey though. We've actually interviewed, there's 86 clubs in our community. We've interviewed all of them, and out of the 86 clubs, 80 of them wanted at least 2 guests, and only 4 other clubs. So I'm not too sure the survey
Is necessary.
is necessary.
Yeah. I think we have a town hall that should bring everyone who's interested into the group.
We haven't interviewed all the clubs. We haven't interviewed my club.
What's your club?
What's your club? The what?
The computer group.
I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a computer group. I apologize.
Well, you say you did them all.
Well,
I'm a small one, but you have not interviewed.
okay.
Well, we have,
I misspoke. We did do the computer group. I think there's,
we have 86, we did 84. we got-
okay, Cindy corrected me. We had 86 and we interviewed 84 of them. And out of the 84, 80 of the
Sorry,
groups.
Larry.
So I don't think we need to do another survey.
However, surveys also help for those people who are working and can't come to a town hall. You can include everybody.
Yeah, but you guys have any idea what a survey costs the community to send out in the mail?
No,
Well, we can use
we
Survey
can do a
Monkey.
survey monkey. We can do a survey monkey. It doesn't cost you money to go out to. It it's, and all of my feelings on that is just to give everyone that maybe doesn't have an opportunity to come to the meetings a chance to have their input. Just try to give across the board fairness to everyone.
Yeah.
I feel a lot
Can
of
we-
people
We voted,
don't know to just
For the town hall.
For the town hall.
we voted for the town hall, so
You want to vote for the survey as well?
Let's wait till after the town hall before we decide on the survey. Okay?
Let's do the town hall and let's see where it goes from there.
Yes,
the next step is the town hall.
yes.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on, next is a proposal from the Landscape Committee to install planting on Whitney Peak Slope. This has gone through the Finance Committee as well. Total cost for this project is $1,708.
I'll make a motion that we approve $1,708 for the Whitney Peak Slope landscape.
I'll second.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded to approve $1,708 for landscaping on the Whitney Peak slope. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 105 through 107 is a proposal from the Landscape Committee to install mule fat, that's the name of the plant, on the Trail D Basin slope, which is nearby the courts. Total cost for this project is $1,250.
I'll make a motion that we plant mule, whatever it is, on the slope surrounding the basin at the courts area for the amount of $1,250.
Second.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded that we approve expenditure $1,250 for landscaping along the Trail D Basin slope. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do. I've been told that this particular plant puts out an incredible amount of spores into the air. And people in this community, a lot of people in this community are actually allergic to this particular plant. And with the wind we have here, if this thing does put out that amount of spores, is it a healthy plant to even plant in this community?
What's your opinion on this? You've researched it.
We do have plants that cause people to have allergies, and this was decided that to replace like the rose, that this was a doable plant. It's a short time that it's in bloom, so many of our plants around here people are allergic to, so we didn't feel that it would be a major problem.
But I was told it has an incredible amount of spores in it that exudate into the air. Is that correct?
Pardon?
I understand that it's a plant that spews out an incredible amount of spores into the air.
Well, I would have to get back to you on that. I'm not that familiar with that issue. I know we have milkweed and other milkweed type that have that are weeds that are in there, but I can certainly check that out.
Lynette, was there a second choice? And what was it?
There wasn't.
There's only one plant that would suffice here.
Well, it was low cost, and that's an area to help the erosion, because it's the top of the slope.
The lifetime of the plant, please.
Generally, until it doesn't have a lifetime, except as long as the water is maintained. And I don't know whether they would trim it every year. If it gets big, they trim it every year.
Can we table this for a while and see if there's something better? Is this an urgent thing?
Yeah, no, it's not urgent. Well, we keep getting rain like this. We're in Seattle. We'll check into it.
Is there a motion that we table this for another month and let them research more?
Well, we already have a motion and a second already to accept this, so we'd have to vote on that motion first. Sure.
So if we call for a vote and nobody votes to approve it, then it dies for lack of.
Okay. Call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor? Okay, motion fails. Now we need another motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to table this till the next board meeting to get some more information on this particular plan.
I second.
It's moved and seconded to table the request for the Trail D base and slope plans. Any further discussion? Okay, motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on page 108 is a request from the Life Guide Bible Study and the Women's Bible Study Group to have a Sunday sing-along here in the lodge on Sunday, June 9th at 6 p.m. with resident pianist Sally White. Total cost would be $250 for ice cream and treats.
Yeah, this is open to all residents?
And there's no cost to attend.
Okay. Yeah, it's open to no residents, no cost to attend. I'll make the motion to approve $250 for the Bible study group's Sunday hymn sing.
Is there a second?
Is this a standard operating procedure where if there's a club that has something like this that generally we put up money for? It's not a big deal, it's not a lot of money, but
They're able to, we just got done, we do collaborations, right, between different clubs that are open to the whole community, like National Night Out. They get $250 for their desserts and stuff, and it's open to the whole community.
how many other groups do this?
Quite a few,
So this is standard operating procedure?
but not often done. Usually it's within the clubs themselves. But since they're opening it to the whole community,
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve $250 for the Life Guide Bible Study, Women's and Bible Study. I guess it's activity on
one Sunday.
One Sunday.
on one Sunday. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that's two opposed and 3 in favor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 109 through 110 is a request from the pickleball group to have a pickleball tournament here on June 22nd from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. With 1 hour more for cleanup. They're not requesting any funds, just the ability to have a tournament here.
I make a motion to approve a pickleball tournament in our community.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the pickleball tournament here. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on page 111 is a request from the Domino's Group to host a Motown 2, The Rising show here. The proposed date would be June 29th at 3 p.m., which would be a matinee. It would be no cost for the association. However, they will sell tickets for $15 each and be open to all members of the association.
I'll make a motion for the AACC Club to sponsor a Motown show in the ballroom on June 29th at 3 p.m. with no cost to the association.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposal from the Domino's Group for a Motown show here in the ballroom at no cost to the association. Any discussion?
Is this open to guests?
Yep.
It would be open to guests with a $15 ticket.
Yeah, okay.
Who gets first crack at these tickets?
So far they can bring the guests that they want to bring, and we don't make a line for We don't make a line for residents first and then a line for a significant other that doesn't live here or a friend.
I guess that's something we're gonna have to slug out a little bit later.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on page 112 is a request from the activities director for the annual 4th of July extravaganza. This would be on, I'm guessing, July 4th. What time does it start, Cindy? What time will the July 4th start?
7 a.m.
Start early. Total cost would not exceed $3,000. The original budget was $2,589. However, after talking with the finance committee, the normal block party that a large block has is not going to be on this year, so we anticipate more people than normal down here. So that's why the not to exceed 3,000 is there.
I propose that we accept the proposal for the July community blast for an amount not to exceed $3,000.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 4th of July extravaganza at a cost not to exceed $3,000. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 113 through 118 is a proposal from management. This is for the pool monitor that we've had for the last, I believe, 3 years now. The issues that we have out there, that there are some grandparents that aren't watching their grandkids exceptionally well. And when another grandparent politely points out that the rules aren't being followed, we've almost had fights out there between grandparents where one is telling somebody else what to do or asking them not to do that. So the proposal is to have a pool monitor to separate it, so it's not a resident-to-resident confrontation, but it's the pool monitor is the one that would be enforcing the rules.
Eric, I thought we made a determination in the finance committee that we were going to try for a month before we went back and said, do we need a pool monitor or not, and maybe we can handle it without the pool monitor?
It was my understanding from that meeting that we would try the pool monitor for a month and then determine.
I think it was the other way around, that we would try for a month without.
That's very, very.
Barry, what do you remember?
Our motion was to do it for the first month and take data on the number of people in the pool each day and to see the number of incidents in that first month. And then maybe Eric would be able to adjust the schedule. We wouldn't need the pool monitor for every day, 3 hours a day.
So do it first with the pool monitor?
Do it first and collect your data, collect attendance and collect incidences by the day so you know where you have a problem, if you have a problem. And then adjust maybe your scheduling in the next 2 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, but if you do it that way, if you have a pool monitor out there, you may not have the amount of incidences you might have without the pool monitor. So wouldn't it be better to do it without the pool monitor, to see how many incidents we really have, to see if we could to see if we're going to justify a pool monitor?
That's a good point.
If you get the incidents reported, I agree with you that you may not get as many of the pool monitors there. I don't know last year what you noticed in his log or her log. There were incidences reported, weren't there?
Daily.
Yes. Yes. Almost on a daily basis.
My concern is we need to give Eric the flexibility to react quickly if it's necessary. Hopefully it won't be necessary, but if it is, I don't want to be tied up for a month until we have another meeting.
We can do it based on incidences that occur. So if we start getting a bunch of problems up front, then we can bring someone on.
Well, I'd like to give him the authorization to hire if he needs to. I don't want him to have to wait a week, 4 weeks to come back and ask us.
Yeah.
Can we do a not to exceed that 10,921 in the event you need it? Go initially on the grandparents taking control of their grandchildren, and then if it's not working out and we're having issues, then you swing into action. Can we do it that way on a motion?
Is there a posted sign about children at times?
Yes.
Do homeowners may not know what's going on?
It's on, there's a sign on the gate that explains all the rules.
Right.
Yeah, there's a sign on the gate, and then also when people come in, the front desk will remind them because we can tell if they're in bathing suits and they're gonna go to the pool with underage guests. It's like, oh, it's 12:30, we need to, why don't you go to the bistro and have something to eat for a minute, and then go to the pool, because it doesn't open until 1.
Well, let me ask you this, and it's $3,600 a month. If we're gonna vote on something to give him an emergency fund, instead of the 10,000, have an emergency fund of 36 in case he's got to do something immediately. And then within that 30 days, we should have another board meeting where we could approve the other 7,000 if needed.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Can I ask a question here? Is there any way when you're lifeguard at a public pool, you don't get a phone? And I've been listening to the chatter on Nextdoor, because I listen to that, a lot of comments about this monitor and how they sit on their cell phones. If something were to happen with a monitor there with one of our guests' kids, we have a problem. Is there any way that we hiring them or you guys can put a stipulation for the 4 hours they're here, no cell phone activity? Just a thought. Because we're paying for these people, and I've been up there when they're there, and they are on their cell phone, and they're sitting way in the back, or maybe they're by the jacuzzi, and I don't think your staff's out there monitoring them, but it's just some concerns a lot of us have.
Another concern I have is that we hire a pool monitor. It seems like it puts the liability back on the association because we've hired somebody to watch. If we leave the liability up to the grandparents, I think they can't come back on us because we're saying, hey, you take care of your grandkids. We're not going to watch them. It's up to you guys. Does the liability fall back on us if we hire a pool monitor?
I would want to clarify that it's a pool monitor, not a lifeguard. So they're there to monitor and make sure that the rules are being obeyed and followed, they're not dressed in red, they don't have a lifeguard outfit, they don't have any kind of life-saving device, they're not there as a lifeguard. They're there as a security guard to monitor the residents and the guests to make sure that the rules are being followed.
I would imagine our insurance would kick in just like if you have guests in your house and one of them gets injured or hurt or something. And we have an inherent responsibility for safety in our facility here, which includes the swimming pool. So I don't think that's part of the equation. We have to have a reasonable amount of attention being paid to a perceived problem. And how we approach it, we've got different options on the table right now. One is to let's wait and see when we have a couple of incidents and kick it in, or let's kick it in early and see if that reduces, I don't know, by starting it early, having the monitor, we probably wouldn't have any incidents. If they do the job right and don't go on the cell phone, and we can tell them that's part of the contract, and should, I think. But if you really want to find out how they're going to act without a monitor, you're going to have to let them start without a monitor.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Can you hand out the rules as people signing their grandkids? Here is what the rules are, and we will expect them to be followed.
yeah,
We do that.
we do that. We can actually make them sign it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're responsible, and the
Yeah.
grandparents are responsible. Here's the rules, you follow them, and they will be enforced if they're not followed.
Yes.
And then management would have to enforce the rules.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think what people need to understand is, first of all, we've had 3 years of experience. That's why we've been getting a monitor. We have more people moving into our community. We are going to need more supervision out of the pool. The issue really is pulling existing staff out of the lodge on an ongoing basis to not be doing the jobs they're paid to do, to run out and deal with the issues at the pool. So the monitor is really an extra staff person so that the people that are in the lodge, taking care of the front desk, signing people in, giving them their rules, and monitoring everything else that goes on, including on the weekends. You think there's a lot of phone calls that come to that front desk. So the monitor is really an extra staff person for 3 months, for 4 hours a day, to take care of the
increased traffic out at the pool area. And the real purpose for the monitor is for the adults, because adults get into arguments and fights in the pool area. It isn't about the children. It's about controlling our residents and our adult guests. So I would recommend that the audience understand this. And there's more and more people moving in here, and we probably have a couple hundred more residents than we did a year ago. And we have 3 years of experience of needing a monitor. So I would recommend we approve it as stated.
I got one more comment. I hate putting $10,000 out for people who don't like being splashed. You know, the children are there from
1 to 4.
1 to 4. And I think the adults who go in at that time should expect to get splashed. You know, and if you put $10,000 out because 4 or 5 people complain that some little kid splashed them and they don't want to get splashed in the pool because their hair's going to get messed up, to me it's not worth $10,000.
I got a question. If you have a monitor there, how is it going to remove somebody that says you can't touch me?
Well, the monitor can go in and tell management that there's a problem.
And then what will management do?
And then management can come out and work through the
And
problem.
what will they do?
Well, if it's that big an issue, then maybe we're calling the police department. I mean, if it's getting to be that.
Has anybody checked to see if Beaumont PD will come out for that?
Sure, if it's a complaint and it's a legitimate complaint, it's 415.
Right.
The penal code, it's a violation, disturbing the peace. The person can sign a complaint, or the board member or whoever's watching it can sign a complaint, have the person arrested or cited and removed. Then the board can take their own action and have a hearing and then fine that person that broke the law, okay? And then you can start offsetting your costs by meeting out the fines to the people that are breaking the rules on.
I realize that it seems like a lot of money when you get it on paper and say, oh, we're paying for a pool monitor for 3 months for this much money. But you're also not comparing it to how much we pay for other people that are working here for the same time frame. I agree with Claudia, this is an additional employee to deal with some situations that have happened in the past during those summer months. We are trying to figure out ways to make it less expensive or maybe have people work it through, but that's what you're hearing here, is what we're trying to figure out.
Actually, we're kind of having a little town hall meeting right now.
The hourly rate,
37.
why not hire a college lifeguard?
Because we're not willing to do lifeguard services here, that puts us in a different category of liability. And we don't want that.
Yeah, and I've been out at the pool several times when there have been incidents, and Claudia's right, it wasn't the kids causing the incident, it was the grandparents at each other's throats about, specifically, you don't tell my grandkids to do anything. And I don't see them doing anything wrong, and if you don't like it, get out of here. That's what you get. And that's why these monitors have been good in the past. And if they are on their telephones, like the lady said, we'll make that an ironclad rule that they don't have telephones to play with. If they have a telephone, the only time they should pick it up is if there is some kind of an emergency. But I'm a little rapid succession how things can get. Most people will pay attention to the about 1 o'clock start time and end at 4 o'clock. It's in between is when they get at each other's throats. So I don't know how else to deal with this.
I think we're all kind of objecting to the $10,000, and I'm kind of along that line. But let's also consider ways to reduce that $10,000. There's a couple of things to do. First of all, we're going to an outside vendor to bring this person in, and that person is making profit off of that person that sits here. I'm looking at a $29.64 bill rate. So my question is, can First Service hire someone, very low rate, college kid, bring it into your overall HR system, and do it for a much lower rate than this $29, where again, we're giving profit to somebody else. That's number one. And number two, maybe we don't need a full 4 hours. That person can start, instead of starting at 12, they can start at 12:30. Instead of finishing at 4, they can finish at 3:30. And hopefully we're not going to have a riot a few minutes before and a few minutes at the end. So,
Get involved with insurance.
And it has to be somebody.
Stronger orientation for homeowners when they buy in here.
And it has to be someone willing to have a presence that would enforce the rules, because I've seen a lot of the little wonderful young girls come in there and tell somebody something, and they just say, well, you're just, you know, a 20-year-old, what do I have to listen to you for? And then they just say that nothing's done. So it has to be somebody with a presence to say, this is the rule, and you need to follow the rule.
It sounds like we need to send the residents a ruling that this is happening, and we're going to be having to charge the residents for this to happen. And if they don't, when they come in here, they should be on their best behavior. They shouldn't be allowing their grandkids to overrun everybody. And
So-
most of all, the people that are involved shouldn't be fighting about it.
So to your question, Joe, yes, First Service can hire, and First Service has hired in other communities a pool monitor for seasonal
you have all
jobs.
the protections involved when you hire someone, you know, all the HR things, the insurances, and all of the things necessary when you hire someone, so why pay a profit to that other person? And again, if we're worried about the 1 to 4 with the kids, don't do it from 1 to 4, do it, you know, a half hour later and end it a half hour sooner. We have to hire them for 2 hours per day, right?
Correct, 2 hours is the minimum, so even if they show for 5 minutes and then they're sick, it'd be a 2 hour. But even if the board wants to go that direction, that's perfectly fine. That would increase the staffing budget for the year, which was already approved. So it'd still be a change in a motion would need to go forth.
What kind of an upcharge would we get for, if we hired somebody at $15 an hour, paying it to him, what's it gonna cost with the, any upcharges from First Service? Is it gonna put it close to that $29?
No, it'd be less than that, but
The person does need to be here through the end of it and getting
Right.
people out of the pool at the next one of the bigger issues, so they do need to be here usually till 4:15 to make sure that they get the children out of the pool, unfortunately.
Right, I agree. To have them shorter time period than.
Maybe shorter at the beginning because you don't get a lot of people in there this close, sometimes right in front, but.
Trouble doesn't start until everybody's in there.
But when it's time to go, even if that pool monitor isn't there, surely 5 minutes or 10 minutes can be taken by the folks at the desk, the normal staff, and just come out and say, hey, it's over, time to leave, rather than sitting there for a long. I guess I'm trying to look for some way to reduce that $10,000 number to something more palatable.
Well, look, if it's true that we're only paying $23 an hour, I calculated it out, and that's $6,066 for the 3 months. Instead of 10, I don't know where they come up with 10,000.
$37. 36.77 days back.
But it's almost 11,000, it's about $6 per homeowner a year.
50 cents a month. Per home.
Well, does the board have a recommendation?
I wasn't there anything less than 1 to 4 for the actual time. The kids are in the water.
Eric, can we start out with you folks bringing someone on board and see where it goes from there?
if that's what the board wants to do, of course, we'll do that.
Is that are you talking, Joe, a First Service guy?
Yeah. Yeah, bringing someone on board, I wouldn't think $15 an hour would be the minimum. I would think you might be able to get something less than that.
I would definitely need to. Yeah. Doing that.
I don't know how much.
My concern, Eric, is you gotta have somebody, as one of the residents said, that has the presence. And my concern is a high school freshman isn't gonna be able to pull it off.
I mean, this contracts with the security company that already runs our front gate. I thought, we did talk about this in the finance committee meeting about other ways to do this, and I thought you had a reason why we shouldn't hire a
Well, if it's a third-party contractor, then it's up to them to have the staffing there. So if their person calls out sick, if they have an issue, then it's incumbent upon them to provide that person per the contract. Right now, if I hire somebody, it would be incumbent upon us to then either move somebody around from a different facility to cover that, thereby leaving a staff coverage at the front desk or in the office.
Or somebody just wants a summer job, just going to school. Somebody wants a summer job. A part-time summer job.
They could.
You got enough time to hire somebody right now, get them up to speed, background checks and everything, to be ready for June 1st?
That is going to be a challenge.
And train them?
But that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about youth though, if you've seen our security people out there, they look like high school students.
That's just because we're old.
No, I'm serious. The kids they hired out here are basically high school students.
Come on, John, they're pretty old. Long in the tooth, those people out there.
Yeah, there's some older ones out there.
For the security people, they have to pass California license laws. So they may look really young to us, but they're at a minimum of 18 and they have a minimum of a certain number of hours of training, as opposed to just grabbing some high school or college kid. You know, in theory, what we would be paying for is those licensing requirements by the state and that training that's required by the state.
That person just has to be a reporter though, because if he sees something going wrong, even though he's young, they can go into the lodge and get someone who's on staff to come out and take action if necessary. That would only be a few minute thing. So that's another possibility too.
What about some kind of a speaker where someone at the front desk can say, hey, be thinking about getting out of the pool, it's an order for blah, blah, blah. They don't know where it's coming from, but at least they hear it.
Well, our lodge staff already goes out on the hour every hour. That's our directive to them, that they do go out and check. Right now, they'd be going out right now, but they're not sitting out there for that time period.
You need a reporter. If something's going on, they can come in and get someone and they'll go out right away and take care of the situation.
It looks like we can reduce it by 25%. Instead of going 12:15 to 4:15, if you want to cut the corner, you can go 1 to 4. That's 3 hours. That's 25% down. I'd rather go with the security service because they do the background and they get all the people lined up. You don't have to mess with that. And then if somebody doesn't show up, then somebody from your front counter is going to be sitting out by the pool. You know, and I don't know if that'll work, but it seems likely. I mean, if you want to save some money on this, that 10-9 could go down maybe into the 7s, and you still have them. Or we can approve a month to see what kind of incidents we're going to have, and go from there. I think there's going to be incidents, and it's not going to be people not wanting to get the kids out of the water at 4 o'clock. It's going to be while the people have their kids in the water, and the grandparents get into it over, you know, don't splash me, or don't bring the noodle over by me. That was what last year's big hoopla started over 2 noodles.
Can we start that first month then?
You know, honestly,
3 hours
2
instead of
noodles.
4?
I didn't catch that, Joe.
For the first month then, instead of starting at 3,600, start instead of a 4-hour person, a 3-hour person.
Right.
And let's get started that way, so we won't be spending that first month 3,600, maybe we'll be spending 2,500.
Right.
and let's see how it goes, and then take it from there.
I'd like to, you know, we've discussed it quite a bit, and I feel strongly enough on it to say, you know, I'd like to make the motion that we provide the pool monitor for 1 month, at least to take a look at it, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And that we make it real clear to them that they're not playing Yahtzee on the telephone, sending texts, and doing anything like that. That the phone is for emergencies only. And try that for a month and see if we can get the grandparents to cooperate.
I will second that.
You seconded?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the contract to hire a monitor for 1 month for 4 hours a day. 3 hours a day.
3 hours a day.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, my concern is we still haven't given Eric the flexibility he needs because he's only going to have 2 weeks' experience when we meet next month.
Yeah, we've already hired him. We've already had it 30 days.
Yeah, but they don't start till, they're not gonna do it till June 1st, right, or till.
Yeah,
We would
so-
start, normally we start on Memorial Day weekend and end Labor Day weekend.
My question is, are you going to have enough experience in the first 2 weeks to make a determination?
I think that we will have data starting now, since we already have some grandkids going back there, and we'll see how it goes for this month, and then that 2-week time period. We also met with one of the security companies, and that supervisor has a person in mind who is more mature than we've had in the past. With a police background, so I think that person would be a good fit for this as well.
That would be very helpful, somebody with that kind of a background in a more mature individual.
Have we given you enough flexibility to do the job? That's my concern.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I have a comment from the back with Tad.
In some other pools, we've had a difficulty with the security company providing a shift for less than 4 hours. So while I respect the board's motion to have it from 1 to 4 for the pool hours for children, just be aware there may be some limitations that Eric will receive regarding the number of hours that they can provide the service. It's all a matter of them trying to get somebody scheduled to come in and work. So, Eric, do what you can to go for the 3 hours, but there might be a provisional opportunity for Eric to address a board member, or if they won't do it for less than 4 hours, what do we do then?
Okay, can we amend the motion then to, John and I was talking, he said maybe to amend the motion to not to exceed 3,500 initially. That'll take us at 3 hours, if we get them for 3 hours, that would take us past the first month in dollars, and then give us an opportunity to make that decision whether we're gonna go forward or discontinue. How about that? Just change the number not to exceed 3,500, but 3 hours a day, 1 to 4.
But if we can't get, if they require 4 hours, that would still give them some flexibility with the funding.
That would give you the flexibility if they say, no, we're not gonna do it.
So 1 to 4 would be ideal.
Right, that's
But
more.
not to exceed 3,500, and if I have to go for 4 hours, then that's acceptable.
Right.
Barbara Miller would like to say something.
So we have one.
Wilson Reagan made the suggestion to management that when families come in with children, that they sign a statement just saying that they have been given the rules, they will follow the rules. This has never been enforced. Also, when people come in, they need to be told about their rings that they want to bring in for the children, make sure that they're not using swim diapers. So management needs to do their part in educating the residents when they come in to use the pool. By the same token, the fob cannot be used to get into the pool until 1 o'clock. So if you have children, you're not supposed to be using your fob, going in, sitting down within the pool area. You're supposed to remain on the outside.
So Barbara, does that swim diapers go for adults too? I'm serious. I'm serious.
There's no incontinence.
No, that's part of the rules, it says.
It says it.
People of
It says no
incontinence.
incontinence.
Yeah.
So that's taken care of. But yeah, so we got the motion on the floor. You continue on our second? On the-
Yeah, I'll second that.
Eric, would you reread the motion so
Yeah, please.
all of us understand
Yeah, all right, so the motion is for 1 month, from 1 to 4 p.m. ideally, but with the flexibility to be 4-hour shifts, not to exceed $3,500 for that month.
it? Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye. And please ask them to get that guy that has the police background if they can.
Yes.
The mature individual. I like that.
Oh, it's easy to get a guy with a police background.
Yeah, we got,
Which side of the field?
yeah. Oh, yes, right. On the police background, we want to make sure he was a police officer type and not in custody.
So stipulated.
Thank you.
Okay, what's next here?
Next is the financials, March financials on pages 119 through 137. They've been reviewed by Ed and Jolene in the Finance Committee. They were approved by them and the Finance Committee, but with the Priscilla Code, it's in open session as well. So it'd be to,
Motion?
yes.
I move that we approve the statements as of the March end.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the budget form that we received. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And lastly is the roof repairs. There was a handout. Facilities had looked at these yesterday, and there was a little bit of discussion before the meeting as well. Joe, you want to?
Yes. What we're looking at is the repair of the flat section over the bistro. And in facilities, we had a whole big discussion, debate over this. We had three bids. We got the first bid, which talks about repairing the roof exactly the way it has been built, putting on the tar paper, whatever. That's a low bid. I think that bid, right. That bid is $8,244, so that's the low-cost bid. There's a second bid by Western Electric, and that bid now includes a little more sophisticated roofing, where it's a foam that gets laid down. That's supposed to be more protective and preventing of leaks. The problem with that is if you walk on it, and we do for various reasons and a number of times a week, to make repairs or make changes. That one, if you walk on it, could be compromised. That one was $15,900, so that's more expensive. The other choice was a choice where they lay down a plastic material of a nice thickness, and they roll it out, and they seal the edges, and this is the best that can be done in terms of keeping this roof from leaking and keeping this roof, and they have, I think, a 15-year warranty on it, and this keeps the roof in good shape for these 15 years, so we should not have any problem with this. Now, so this is a whole section that gets taken care of, and is aside from any other leaks with the tiles that might take place anywhere else. This cost is $32,500. So the debate became, do we go with the low cost and kind of fix it the way it has been built, or do we put together something which now is going to be much more durable, prevent any problem from taking place? You can walk on it, and it should be good for 15 years. The recommendation by the Facilities Committee, and we did have some discussions on it, and came that the recommendation was for the $32,500, which now would give us something that we could put our minds to rest on. And anything else we have with the rest of the roofing now, this is now separate from that and not a consideration anymore. So I wanted to bring that up to the board and to the community to let you know what the alternatives are and what the considerations were by facilities, so that any decision that gets made, it's made with with the full light and the full understanding of what's taking place and why we chose what we chose. So right now, what's before the board is so I make a motion that we approve, and I can't read the writing who that was Jordan. The Jordan roof approach for $32,500 to fix that roof over the bistro. I'm not sure what, I guess finance left. Oh, you're there, you're hiding. I'm not sure what's in reserves for that, but right now that is the recommendation from facilities, and again, so I'd like to bring that forward.
I'd like to say this, I understand the idea of getting something more durable, but you're talking about 2.5 times the cost. Fine, if that's really the right way to go, we then have to adjust our reserve fund to look at that in the future for that. So you would have to look at our reserves needing to increase for roof repairs at 2.5 times what we have budgeted now, because they don't have that budgeted. I would like to see an analysis done personally of how much do we think, how long will it last for the lower price job, which is what we have now. We've been here, what, 12 years with this building? And the leak started a year ago. Do we get another 10 years out of it at, what, 40% the cost? Or go for this and get a 15-year guarantee? I just think,
that was the argument that went on, absolutely.
do we need to do this today? Can they cover that roof up and let us look at it and do an analysis?
My understanding is, and Sapphire, you worked with us on this, my understanding is that this roof has to be fixed now. It can be fixed at the low cost and would last for, what is it, 10-year, I think, the warranty on it?
Yes, and the reason that we're looking at just this one spot is because the way that the roof leak is, the water's traveling, it's going right over the bistro operator's hood, and it's gonna go into his fryer, and it's a very dangerous issue with that, so they can't cook. I think if it was just going in the middle of the floor, maybe we'd have a bucket there for a couple more weeks, but when they can't cook, that was the reason to bring it forward now.
So there we are. The board is aware of everything, and regardless of what facility says, the board is the final voice.
What is the warranty on the $15,000 job?
I think you have it there.
Isn't it under warranty now?
No, it's out of warranty after 10 years.
When is it supposed to be replaced?
No, it's part of it. The roof
what?
never belongs to us, and it's part of the reserve.
The Western bid has a 5-year labor and material warranty.
And the Antis had the 10-year, right, Sapphire?
Yes.
So the cheaper bid had 10 years, the next bid only has 5.
And John, the next bid up, because of the foam, in talking with Phil Westbrook, who has been involved with lots of this stuff, he says that's a big risk. People walk up there, that foam gets crushed, and now it's
compromised.
amenable to
So I really think your choices are the cheap one or
Or
the
the most
expensive one.
expensive.
I don't think the middle one's really very good.
John, the application for the foam roof is basically done on a non-accessible roof. This particular roof has all your kitchen equipment mounted up there, so it's accessible. It has to be accessible on a weekly basis virtually by the maintenance crew. So the foam roof there would degrade exponentially fast, depending on how much traffic's up there, because it can't support weight. So you're left with the two other bids. And the EVC roofing material, which is pretty much an industry standard for flat roofs, in this application here, even though the warranty is 15 years, these roofs, I can tell you because I've worked on a lot of them, in areas like Laverne, all in San Bernardino, they're getting over 30 years out of it. So if it's installed correctly as per the manufacturer's recommendation, which I've offered to make sure that happens, we should get, that roof will probably outlive everybody in this room, including young Cindy.
And we do get a lot of traffic on that roof, because that's.
We do, because the access to the attic level
Yes.
is up there as well.
The air conditioning.
Anytime you're
and everything, so-
servicing the pitched roofs, you're going over there as well, so.
Exactly.
You need a roof, that roof that was up there, which was the composite works great, you don't walk on it that much. But from what I saw in the pictures there, the problem areas is, the underlayment isn't the greatest, so the roof is sheeting material is taking the beating. That's why you start to have leaks, and that thing's been leaking almost from day one.
What's the motion we have right now?
The motion I put forward is for the $32,500 for the expensive roof based on the recommendations of the facilities committee.
Do we have a second?
Not yet.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the roof repair at
So there was two
36,000.
different costs, I just wanted to clear not to exceed the 30.
Not to exceed the 32, right.
Because we might be able to go back down to the 29.5, they were gonna do a little more.
Yeah, that's
So not to
possible.
exceed the.
Not to exceed, okay.
Moved and seconded that we approve the
Not to
proposal
exceed.
to repair the roof not to exceed
$32,000.
$32,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next meeting will be Thursday, June 13th, here at 1 p.m. in the ballroom.
Yeah, I just got one comment for you. One comment. Over my dead body, and according to Barry, that's not going to be very long. Cindy is not going anywhere.
And sign up for the AED training class. Sign up is at the front counter.
Good motion to adjourn. I need a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
John seconded.